Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the bill.
To the bill.
Colleagues, I rise in very strong support of this bill. I've been tracking this bill and trying to promote this bill for many years. There was a period during this session that I actually doubted my own support of it as the details were coming out, and I wasn't so sure this was going to be as helpful as a tool as I had initially hoped. I end up feeling, after all the tremendous work that's been done on this, that this is indeed a very important first step. This tool has been used in cities across the country, I believe about 500 cities across the country for decades. It started in Montgomery County, Maryland, where it's been in use for over 40 years, and they've done studies to show that when people live in mixed income communities, those communities are much stronger. The kids in childcare, the kids in schools, local businesses, etc., thrive when you've got mixed income communities. So the low-income children in Montgomery County schools compare to kids who are outside of Montgomery County that don't have mixed income communities. Their academic success is way better in Montgomery County. So I am thrilled that this is finally on the floor. There were some restrictions that I lament, and I hope that we look at in the future. The floor being 20 units means that there are a lot of smaller communities around the state that won't be able to make use of this because they simply don't have apartment buildings or housing developments of that size. Secondly, defining affordable housing as 80% of median family income means that this tool will be very useful for workforce families, not as useful for families below 80% of MFI, although I recognize that cities and counties can continue to try to use the construction excise tax to incentivize voluntary inclusion of inclusionary zoning for families below the 80% level. Lastly, this bill does exclude Metro as one of the local entities that can raise its construction excise tax. Currently, their excise tax, which was grandfathered in from a long time ago, is 0.12%, and they are restricted in using that only for planning. In the region that I live in, this is really critical because they are able to look at some of the gaps in affordable housing around the region. They can see where the congestion is happening, where people are traveling from one part of the region to another for jobs. And so it's really been important that they're there to look at what the planning needs are, what the zoning needs are, what the incentives are that can help different communities within the region that may not be able to use some of these tools themselves. I'm very lucky because in my district, in the heart of my district, in the Jade district, right across from PCC, they have helped acquire an old furniture store that they are going into partnership with Rose Community Development Corporation that is going to be building 40 to 50 affordable units above some retail. So I'm delighted. They helped with the planning of that. They were able to draw upon some transportation funds, transit-oriented development, TOD funds, in order to get that done. But it's very hard you can do all the planning in the world, but if you don't have access to funds, that makes it harder. So despite the restrictions on this bill, this is an incredible step forward. I'm eager for my own city of Portland to start using it, and for other communities. We had so much, so even though the bill started on the Senate side, we also heard it in the form of House Bill 4001. And the House side on February 1st, we had 4.5 hours of testimony. People from all over, from Hood River, Corvallis, Eugene, Washington, the Lincoln, all over Lincoln County, all over the place, really wanting to be able to use this tool. Since we are one of only 2 states that has banned it, they really want to be able to use this tool. So I'm eager to start with this and see how we can make sure that all of the cities and counties and regions have access to this tool in a way that can catalyze affordable housing where most needed in the future. I do want to just thank Community Alliance and Tenants and Opal for originally bringing this to my attention in 2012, then for Representative Reardon introducing it originally, I think that was 2013. Representative Jennifer Williamson, I'm sorry I'm not using the monikers because I want the world to know who was involved in this along the way, and they may not know the district numbers. And of course, the speaker and her able assistant right next to her, a housing advisor, Andy Short, for doing so much work, along with the IZ Coalition, which grew from a couple different organizations to dozens of organizations, not just housing organizations, but economic development organizations, healthcare, environmental groups,
Excuse
so
me,
many groups
Representative. Representative Barnhart yields his time.
Thank you. This is really important. So I just want to thank everyone who's been involved in this along the way. And I want to thank the bipartisan support that I'm anticipating on this bill. I know it had bipartisan support on the Senate side. I'm looking forward to that after some vigorous conversations on the House side as well. Thank you.